Kabul Shahi should be considered as the last Indian kingdom of Afghanistan. They ruled centered around Kabul and Zabul as two different kingdoms, and as time went by, they were pushed into India. But they are remembered more for the sort of resistance they put against Islam in Afghanistan, and they almost held their ground for around 250 to 300 years inside Afghanistan itself. Because of the resistance they put, Islam came to a screeching halt in the direction of India, and the whole of India stands as a Hindu majority even today because of that. I'll come to this slide later. Okay. If you slice Afghanistan diagonally into two, the northern part is Persian and the southern is Indian. Now, if you look, now let me go back to the first slide. See, this is a modern map of Mughal Empire and Safavid empires struggle in Afghanistan. But if you look at the map here, what you're looking at here is there is an approximate demarcation between northern Afghanistan and southern Afghanistan, Kandahar, Kabul. So this area traditionally fell into Indian sphere, and this area fell traditionally into the Persian sphere. Okay. But this particular map which we see, this is the general trend. There are actually three different players in Afghanistan. One is Persia, one is India, and one is the northern the steppe kingdoms. It was the Kushanas before. It was the Huns later, Goktuks. Everyone they extended into central Afghanistan. Mongols were the most recent, as what we know. But this demarcation which you are seeing, this is the general classification. But there are cases where Indians extended even further, as like in the case of Chandragupta Maurya, or there were cases where Persians extended further, as like the case of Darius, Khusra, and others. Generally, if you look at it, the maximum Persian extent in towards India is still Indus River. For some reason, they never crossed Indus. We know of Persian coins in Sindh. We know of a vassal kingdom called Indo-Sassanians ruling Balochistan and that sort of areas. The most recent happening with in this time frame with respect to Afghanistan is that of the Huns. They entered India and Persia from the north by around 460 AD, and by 550 they were back. So from then on, they were players, but they were not the major powers they were contended to be as like before. If you look at it, see, this is what we are talking about here, right? You have a Persian empire, we have the Persian empire here, you have the main India here, this 26, 27, 28, Kapisa, 30, and even Kashmir. This formed the core of the leftover Hunnic empire. Alkan Huns and Nazak Huns. These were the last lines. In 607 AD, Persian armies under Khusro invaded Hunnic Empire, because of which there was a complete turmoil in Central Asia. The empire was almost broken into pieces, and there was chaos reigning everywhere. The Persian armies advanced almost till Sindh. They defeated the armies of Sindh and conquered the territories. Immediately after they left back, Harshavardhana invaded and made a vassal of Sindh. Okay, it was just a local affair, but everything was normal as it looked. But what suddenly happened was the rise of Arabs. By 636, the Arabs erupted out of Arabia, attacking Persian forces in strength. 636, Al Qasidiya, the core of Persian army was destroyed, and it's a matter of time Persia fell. Because of the two major defeats at Al Qasidiya and Navahan, Persians were desperate enough to protect their capital city and the core of the territory. Because of that, they had to pull the soldiers from all directions and pump into the major wars. They lost. That's a different story. Because of this, what happened was at a time when Hunnic Empire was under utter chaos, Persians had to retreat. On top of that, China and Goktuks were the fight between both the kingdoms peaked like anything in the same period. Refugee flow from that direction. refugee flow from Persia towards this direction. Armies leaving Afghanistan towards Persia on the third. There was utter chaos in that area. As if this is not enough, suddenly around 625, the king of Zhangzhou was killed, assassinated to be exact. Zhangzhou was the area which bordered Indian states of Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, and Uttarakhand, and covered the western half of Tibet. In a matter of years after the assassination, Tibet conquered the empire, and and by 670 they took Khotan and all other Tarim Basin areas. There were armies advancing in all directions. There is too much fluidity in population in that area. When Arabs entered this area, this was the picture they saw. As if this is not sufficient, Harshavardhana died in 650, 645. Pulakeshi, the Chalukyan emperor, he died in 642, and his empire was complete chaos till around, for the next 15 years. So there was not even someone to hold a front to stop the advancing Arabs. Lucky chance that these Shahis stood in the way, and the deserts of Balochistan came to help India. Had it not been that, we wouldn't have known what happened in India. The last Hunik emperor we know is Narendra Aditya. He is known to have ruled at least till 630 AD. What happened after him is not known. We know of a name by name Yudhishthira who ruled from Kabul. Whether he was a governor or whether he was a successor of Narendra, we don't. In 651, Arabs entered Afghanistan for the first time, and a part of the army which entered Afghanistan swerved south and attacked Kabul and Zabul area. The whoever was governing from Kabul, he was defeated and he was forced to convert to Islam. Along with that, there is a famous sun temple at Zamindwar. Some say it's a sun temple, some say it's that of a local god Zoon. What are the origins of that temple? We don't know, but there is a theory that this Zoon was a local god who was displaced by the Kapalikas, who became strong some 100 or 150 years before. His temple was moved from somewhere near Kabul to this place, Zamindwar. That was the final blow which fell on the Hunik Empire. See, the king is forcibly converted. The main temple of the kingdom is broken. And the kingdom formally fragmented into pieces. Of our interest are two kingdoms. One is the Shahis, and the second one is Kashmir. In 657, Kashmir separated out. In 661, Kabul separated out. Arabs were very active in that area between 650 and 710. They tried to subjugate the whole of Afghanistan. They succeeded partly in the north. They completely failed in the south. And this period marked the start of fight back against the Arabs. In fact, this can be considered as the first serious challenge Arabs got anywhere in the world. That's sort of a fight back that they were never able to overcome. At this time, by 712, Sindh fell. So the situation was something like every direction except a small link to India was under the control of the Arab empires. Let me move to a forward map just to tell you. Yes, this one. See, if you look at it, this is around 690. Sindh fell some 10 or 15 years later. After the Sindh fell, do you notice this curve here? This is where the Arabs were stopped from entering further south. It looked as if this is the only area left for the Arabs to conquer, and different thing they failed to do it. Okay, now let's go back to our slide. Who stabilized the position there? It was this Kabul Shahi kingdom, which was formed in 661. Immediately after forming, it launched a fight back, and at least till 759, it was in regular contact with China. China was defeated in 751 at Talas, and after that, China withdrew not because of the defeat at Talas, but because of an internal rebellion which almost destroyed the Tang Empire on Lushan. These Kabul Shahis are one of the very few kingdoms who stood against Islam and outlived the Arab caliphates. Literally all the Arab caliphates, and they collapsed only when the local powers took charge there. but there is very less information available regarding them. What exactly is the reason for that? One, the remoteness of the area. Even it's not just Kabul Shahis, any of those hill kingdoms. Take the case of Palwala Shahis of Gilgit. They were literally nothing is known about them, in spite of the fact that they were in the center of the trade routes between Kashmir, Khotan, and Kabul. Either they didn't make anything, or the information is not found yet. Probably the main reason why this happened is because the kingdom was always in war. For 350 years, it fought wars non-stop. Did it have time to do all these things? We don't know. Maybe it maintained what it got from the older kingdoms, but probably they didn't prepare much as well. When the area was converted to Islam, any visible markers for arrest. One more thing here is information exists both from Indian side, Arab side, and Chinese side. But the problem is, Arabs focused only on wars, especially the wars with Sistan. Chinese, it's more about core chronicles and mapping the Chinese names with the Arab names or Indian names is nearly impossible. And Indian information over the Shahis is not that greatly available as well. And one final reason why we are not able to find some information over Kabul Shahis is because Afghanistan is in continuous war for the last 30 years or something. Who exactly is going there and trying to find out something regarding them?